Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warcry for the channel. In today's battle report, the Rotmire Creed are getting their second showing after going up against Nurgle Nurgle on Nurgle violence really, last time going up against the Rotbringers, but this time they are going up against the Iron Golems in this kind of underground cavernous cave map system type thing that you see before you. So without further ado, let's go look at both sides and we'll get right in. So here is the Rotmire Creed again, broken into Dagger, Hammer, Shield, which is a group of 3, group of 4, group of 3, and I'm going to have to cheat sheet it again just to get all their names. Their leader is the Witherlord at the back here. He is being joined by 2 of the Mirefolk outcasts with their sword and board set up as Bilewood, Weapon and Shield to be specific, but sword and board. Each group has 2 of those to save mentioning them again. In the hammer, there is also these 2 gentlemen on the stilts at the back there. These are 2 carrying catchers with Impaler, which is just a fun name for a weapon. And then the heavy is in the shield at the end here, which is the bloated one from memory. Yeah, I got it right. Bloated one with the raker claws set up as opposed to the net you can have them with. And that comes to, I think, 995 on the dot. That's how they come out the box, just using what's available. And here is the Iron Golems in a very feast or famine setup. They have a lot of killing power. They can do a ridiculous amount of damage with this setup, but that's all relying on the randomized mission actually rewarding being a murder team. We shall see if that's actually the case when we draw the cards soon. Anyway, Dagger, Hammer, Shield, 2 models in each. The leader is the Dominar, who's at the back here, with the Drill Master, who's got kind of like the flail and the whatever that is. Then we've got the guest, which is the Ogroid Myrmidon, very, very scary model, assuming it actually gets into combat, and he's with the Signifier. Then over here we have just a basic Legionnaire with bolas, and the big heavy hitter, the Ogre Breacher, who doesn't roll that many attacks, but if they hit, and especially if they hit with a crit, he's going to murder stuff. Simple as that. So I think they come to roughly 995 as well. Neither of them hit 1000 on the dot, but still, that's what they're coming as today. And while we get set up for randomizing mission and deployment, here is a brief word from my channel sponsor. Please check them out. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. So here's where we'll be picking our deployment type and our mission for today. Forgot to mention the roll has already been done for who gets to pick whom is attacker and defender. The Iron Golems won and they have chosen to be the defender. They want the Rotmire Creed to have to run in after them. So that might be a benefit or a hindrance depending on what happens. So we shall just go wherever. Sure, why not? Under lock and key. I think, did we do this one? Well, either way, randomized, we're doing it. So after deployment, the attacker, so that's Rotmire Creed, picks 1 friendly fighter on the battlefield, so one of their people, to be carrying a key. That fighter is carrying treasure as well. Okay. Then the defender, which is Iron Golems, must pick 1 terrain feature to be a vault door. The battle ends after 4 rounds. When the battle ends, if an attacking fighter is carrying treasure and is within 1 of the vault door, they win. Otherwise, the defenders win. Alright, so once everyone's deployed, the Rotmire Creed have to select whoever is holding the treasure. That's bad for them because they're slow. So they're just going to have to keep on sprinting and hoping that they can weather the storm. And the Iron Golems just have to defend, which is kind of what they're good at. Well, okay, I'd say that's probably put them in favour immediately. And then we'll just randomise this. Dangerous Rift. Let's see what this does for us here. Everyone is on the table from the start, so it's going to be very bloody. So here we are with both sides set up. The Rotmire Creed are at the top end of the table. They're facing down the Iron Golems, who are going to be pushing up. In terms of the under lock and key victory condition, the Witherlord himself, which is in the centre of the map, top of your screen, is going to be holding the key. I got a little confused by why does it mention treasure. It just means the key follows the rules for treasure, i.e. if he dies, he drops it and it can be picked up. So someone else can take over the mantle and still try and win. So the Witherlord, the boss man himself for the Rotmire Creed, has the key. In terms of deployment, the shield for each side is opposing the hammer. So this is the hammer for the Iron Golems down here, facing off against the shield for the Rotmire Creed. Don't really need to show specifically, you already know who's in each group. It's just left of table, middle of table, right end of table. And that is about it. So with that, let's go roll some dice and see what's going to happen. And here's how the dice shook out. The Rotmire Creed are using the sickly green coloured ones, obviously. The Iron Golem ones are kind of using the crimson ones. So the Rotmire Creed rolled double 4, double 5. They used their wild die to turn the double into a triple. Iron Golems, they naturally rolled a double 4, a triple 1, so they thought, well, whatever, and used their wild die to turn their single 6 into a double as well, because they want to make use of some rushes to get people in position. So that means the Rotmire Creed will be going first. Just realised, forgot to point out what's been selected for the vault. So you know what, in-camera editing, because it just looks the part, it is that well right there. It's off to one side, and the Rotmire Creed are slow. Ergo, their shield rather in the top left corner, which is the bloated one and 2 of the Mire folk, they're going to really struggle to get over there without just burning activations just running. So that seemed like a good bet. So this is the main objective. So for this first round, there's going to be a lot of posturing and just positioning more so, especially because the maximum threat radius of each side is hilariously short. Maximum range on an attack action anyway for Rotmire Creed is 2 inches in terms of like their stat card attacks. For the Iron Golems, it's a massive 3 inches on the ones with bolas, and they aren't particularly damaging. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of positioning, followed by non-stop death and destruction from round 2 onwards, I think. First activation for the Rotmire Creed was the bloated one. The double 4 was spent to give him rush for +1 inch on 2 movement actions, which is what he did. And honestly, with that added on, he can scarper pretty far, and managed to almost make it to the dead centre of the map. So with that, it's over to the Iron Golems. We're probably going to go backwards and forwards on movement actions, carefully selecting because they're trying to stay outside of each other's getting stuck in combat range, at least until they're close to the well. So remember what I was just saying about positioning and who's activating first being super important? Yeah, that's all out the window. The Ogreoid Myrmidon activated and he chose violence this day. He spent the double 4 that the Iron Golems have, because they have 2 doubles, on rush. So his base 5 move for movement action became 6, so he had 12 inches to play with, and that got him comfortably, basically, to the centre of the map. More importantly, it got him into the threat radius of the bloated one that just activated, so they're now locked in combat together. Bloated one's going to have to do a disengage unless they try and go through the Myrmidon, which is exactly what he's there for. They will have to go through or around him, and both have their own individual set of problems. Now, granted, he is liable to get piled on over there, and he is toughness 6. With 30 wounds, that doesn't make him invincible. Crits will get through. So hopefully he's going to tie him up in combat long enough for everyone else to get into position. That's the plan. But we'll see, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Yeah, he can get jumped on by 6 people, if they decide to, that is. So can't see him lasting that long if that's the choice they make, but in the long run that might still give the Iron Golems the win. We'll have to see. One of the Mirefolk outcasts in the top left corner of the map activated 2 movement actions, simple as that, 4 inches each. Got him to where you can see him. He's not looking through the fence at what's happening on the other side of it. He's mostly just going around. That seems to be the chosen strategy. And following on from that, trying to get around the corner before he ends up getting locked in combat, the Signifier activated for the Iron Golems. Double move, 4 inches each as well. Kind of the same speed as the Mirefolk. And ended up right there, just going around the corner. If he activates before that outcast, rather, but just activated, he will get away before getting locked in combat. Well, nobody wanted to move on the other side of the table yet, and that's because they could actually potentially get into each other's threat radiuses. So, other outcast, it's Mire Lurk and Outfolk, I end up saying, which are both wrong, but, you know, it's one of those brain worms that you can't get out of your head unless you double check the wording. Anyway, the Mirefolk outcast up in the top left corner went down to where you can see him joining his friend, and that's it for anyone on that side of the table, so it has to be the centre or the other flank now. Well, the Dominar activated for the Iron Golems and decided to assert his dominance. Double move action, 4 inches each, get used to me saying that. Moved twice, and has ended up bodyguarding the vault / well. One of the outcasts from the dagger for the Rotmire Creed activated did a move and a half, more or less, because a full double move of 8 inches might have put him in the threat radius of the Drillmaster if she used their other double for a rush, so just playing it safe a little bit, still puts him in the threat radius of the well / the treasure place for turn 2. Next up for the Iron Golems was the Iron Legionary with bolas, not quite as fast as the Drillmaster, but does have that 3-inch threat radius. He activated, did a double move, and that got him right on top of the well, so he's currently standing on where the Witherlord needs to, or whoever takes the key, that is, if he dies, needs to be standing by the end of the game. Although I think the specification was, within an inch of it? Within an inch of the vault door, and we're counting the grating as the vault door, so actually being on the far side will be enough to count, assuming they're alive. Bit more careful movement from the Rotmire Creed. One of the carrying catchers with Impaler activated, and also did about a move and a half-ish from where they were. Didn't go fully in, again trying to avoid the Drillmaster because our base move is 5 and it could be 6. and then the Ogreoid Breacher, they could spend their triple to get a double move plus an attack, so still, actually, he might still be in the threat range with a move of 4, actually, but there is still another one right around the corner that could capitalise, since the Rotmire Creed absolutely have the numbers advantage. Knowing that the brawl is really going to get started in turn 2 of 4, the Drillmaster activated and just moved up to be with the Dominar and the Iron Legionary with the Bolas there. The Outcast up on the ruins with the Witherlord activated and just walked to the edge of the ruin but did not jump down, kind of saving himself or potentially to blow dart from up there next turn. Well, the Ogre Breacher activated and he ain't afraid of nobody. He did a double move which got him into combat with the Carrion Catcher because that was enough to cover the distance. Triple was spent on Living Battering Ram. Because it was a 1/1, it just means it does 1 wound to him, which I didn't bother putting on there, so it's on his card. But 1 wound to the Carrion Catcher, which might end up being the only damage done. That does mean as the other Carrion Catcher and the other Mirefolk Outcasts come around the corner, they might be able to attack him, or well, definitely will if they choose to. Again, it's a case of, do they want to fight someone that's actually pretty tough? Toughness 5 and 30 wounds in his case? I don't know. Let's see. Well, before any of that, it was actually the Witherlord who activated. He hopped down from where he was and then ended up just there with that Outcast ever so slightly in front of him, just to kind of body block for him. So the Rotmire Creed had 3 activations left. For your convenience, we've just done all of them at once because 2 of them were just movement. One of the Mirefolk Outcasts came round the left side of his terrain, ended up there. One came round the right side, avoiding combat with the Ogre Breacher, ending up there. The second Carrion Catcher, though, decided to help his friend and went in on the Ogreoid Breacher, attacking him. 3 attacks, strength 4, yep, against toughness 5. Could not pierce the Breacher's armour. Absolutely 0 damage there. And that does take us to the end of the first round. And with that, there is no points to tally or victory conditions to check. Really, it all comes down to what the board situation is at the end of the 4th round. Who claims the well and where is the key that will unlock the treasure hidden within. With that, let us go to the dice rolls for round 2, and this is where the violence starts. And here is how the dice went. The Rotmire Creed had a double 3 and nothing. Absolutely nothing else, but they turned a single 6 into a double with their wild die for the turn. Iron Golems had a double 6, double 2. They have opted to spend their wild die, turning the double 6 into a triple 6, which makes the Ogreoid Breacher, not the Ogreoid, sorry, Ogre Breacher, Ogreoid Myrmidon, Ogre Breacher. Understandable, the mistake, I hope. Very dangerous if he does his little Living Battering Ram attack, because that's just 6 free wounds, essentially. But it does mean they're going second, because they just have 2 dice as opposed to the 3. So, Rotmire Creed, first activation, let's go. So, first activation of the second round for Rotmire Creed was the Carrion Catcher who was wounded. The wound is now on the table, since there's going to be a lot more wounding now, so it makes sense. And first of all, he spent their double 3 or 4, whatever it was, on Blowpipe. Roll 2 dice for each 4+. Do damage equal to the ability's value you have, rounding up, I believe it is. Doesn't matter, neither one was a 4+, so nothing there to the Ogre Breacher. Then he just attacked with his, what is it called again? The Impaler, yeah, the Impaler. First roll was 3 5s, second roll also had a 5 in it. So the first wound count was 6 from just 3 normal hits getting through, and then 1 normal hit in the second barrage means 2 more wounds, so we're just going to flip that over, and that means in total he managed to do 7. Of the 30 wounds he has, which I guess that's fine, the Blowpipe doing some damage would have definitely kind of upped that. If he managed to do a third of his health, that would have been really good. It might not be the first activation you were expecting for the Iron Golems. It was the Signifier, not the Breacher, not the Dominar, the Signifier. He wanted to get over to this side of a table before he got locked in combat. And Living Battering Ram for the Breacher, you need to do a movement action. A disengage is not a movement action. Totally different things. So he can't make use of Living Battering Ram. So the Signifier is spending the triple on Stand Defiant instead. So it doesn't really matter if it's a triple 6 because the value of it doesn't make a difference. But it does mean until the end of the round, you add 1 to the toughness characteristics of friendly fighters while they're within 6 of him. And that's basically everyone. Oh, you know what? The Breacher isn't. Although he can't go over. He's toughness. Sorry, he could have been toughness 6. So actually, the Breacher, sadly, the one who probably needs it the most, is the only one on their team who's not currently +1 toughness. That means that the Myrmidon would technically be toughness 7. Can't go over 6. But the standard toughness of the rest of them is 4 normally. So that's them all at toughness 5. And the Rotmire Creed mostly hit at strength 4 or 3. So they're going to have a harder time this round. Well, the other carrying catcher with Impaler activated, and he wanted to try and repeat the feat that the first one did, attacking the Ogre Breacher twice for his turn, not getting as many hits through. In fact, only one did. It was a crit though, and their crits are nasty. They are 5 wounds. But rather than put that there, we're just going to flip the 5 that's there to a 10, and it is 13 wounds in total to the Breacher of his 30, so 17 left to go. It's fair to say the Ogre Breacher was a little miffed by all the damage he's been taking, so he activated, and he stayed where he was. He did 2 attack actions into the ever so slightly wounded carrying catcher, the one with a single wound, and he's hitting at strength 6 with a total of 4 attacks across both attack actions, because it's 2 per time, and he got 2 hits through and a crit, which means he did 16 wounds, which is 17 in total to a model with 12. So there's now a fine mist where this gentleman used to be. Oh, it might not be a fine mist, they are Rotmire, I guess it might be like pus filled. But either way, where there was once a man, there is now only sludge. Well, the Mirefolk outcast, who is now standing in front of the well, roughly centre of your screen, him there, he did not have a good turn. He spent their double 6 on blowpipe to try and blow a poisonous dart into the neck of the Iron Legionary here, and managed to roll snake eyes, so nothing there. First action, moved into close combat. Second action, attacked. 3 attacks, strength 3, going up against a currently buffed up to toughness 5, and did absolutely 0 damage. The Drillmaster activated, and her first action was to move into close combat with this outcast, almost called him outfolk again, over here, and swung 4 times into him at strength 4 versus toughness 4, so looking for 4 pluses, got a hit and a crit through, for a total of 6 of his 10 wounds. Bit of a weird activation next for Rotmire Creed. The outcast that was over here did a double move action to kind of get into combat with the Myrmidon here. Can't attack this turn and can't do a blow dart or anything because they've got no doubles, triples left, but is at least there to also try and help hold the Myrmidon there. I presume that the best course of action for the blowed one is to get in there, so he doesn't really want to get stuck in combat with something that's as tough or tougher than him, because it will not end well. Well, the thing about plans like that is, if the Myrmidon activates and, I don't know, let's say hypothetically, casually does 28 wounds, you might have to rethink your plans, and that's precisely what happened. Across 2 attacks of 3 dice each, doing 4 damage on a normal wound and 8 on a crit, he genuinely just dealt 28 wounds to the bloated one, who has a, well, respectable 18, but it ain't 28. So, the best laid plans of mice and men and all that is now also splattered red and green and pus-filled paste on the floor. Well, with new fear in their heart of just how damaging and scary that Ogroid Myrmidon is, the other outcast, I did it again, it always happens, activated and has also just moved into combat with him to hold him there as best they can, because they don't want him going after the Witherlord. Because Witherlord, he has 2 more wounds than the bloated one had, I suppose, but with just a little bit of help, it might potentially be pretty easy just to, take him out, and then he dropped the key, and the Iron Golems can pick up the key as far as I can tell, because it's classed as treasure, so they could pick it up and hold on to it, and then the Rotmire Creed wouldn't have a chance. The Dominar himself was next up for the Iron Golems, moved for his first action, blocking that general area, then took some swings into the outcast that had already gone earlier in the turn, just managed to get 2 normal hits through. His normal hit damage is actually kind of bad, but his crits are where it's scary because he does 5 damage. 2 normal hits though is 4 wounds of the outcast's 10. And leaping at the chance to get the Dominar stuck in combat, the outcast that was up here came down, moved again, and has done exactly that. Can't do anything else this turn though. Final activation, I think, for the second round for Iron Golems was the Legionnaire with the bolas up there. He attacked the outcast that got into combat with him. 2 attacks of, across 2 attack actions, 2 attacks each for a total of 4 attacks. At strength 3 versus toughness 4, 0 damage dealt. Big swing and a miss there. Just 3 activations to go for the Rotmire Creed now, first of which was this outcast over here, locked in combat with the Drillmaster. Took a couple of swings at her and managed to get a single hit through for 1 wound of her. I think she has 15. And we can cover those last 2 activations as a oneer, because depending on how the first one went, that influenced how the second one would go. So the first one was the last outcast, which moved into combat with the Dominar, took a swing at him, and depending on if he managed to do some damage or not, the Witherlord was going to start getting in there to help out, but he did 0. So the Witherlord instead has just moved away from the Myrmidon and is hiding back there, hoping to just hold on to that key until we can just swoop in and win the game for them. And that takes us to the end of the second round. And as we end the second round, there's a kind of flyover shot, I guess, as I pull back where most of the fighting is going on. There's no one on the left third of the table now. 2 dead for the Rotmire Creed, which balances out the numbers a little bit, and not that much damage done to the Iron Golems, to be honest. That buff from the Signifier helped out more than I thought it would, so good there. Either way, let's go to the dice rolls to see how the start of turn 3 is going to play out. And for the penultimate round, here is the dice. The Rotmire Creed rolled a double 6, double 5. They have spent their while to get that triple 6, leaving them with 2 singles. The Iron Golems rolled a natural triple and a natural double. They've turned that double into a triple and just leaving them with a single 2 there, which means once again the Rotmire Creed will be going first. Well, to start the round, the Witherlord actually grew a spine. First action, moved into combat with the Dominar, then spent the triple 6 on a lethal injection, which I think he's the only person who can do that. He's the only one with that rune mark. You pick an enemy fighter within 1 and roll a number of dice equal to the value of the ability, in this case 6. And for each roll that exceeds, not equals, has to exceed, the toughness of that fighter, allocate 5 damage to them. So we had to get 5s and 6s. Got 2 of them, so that's 10 damage right there. Oh, that should most definitely not be a 10. That should be a 3. Otherwise he'd be dead, and he's not dead, barely. So that was 10 from lethal injection. Then he used his other actual action just to swing at him. 4 dice, strength 4 versus toughness 4. Managed to get a crit and a normal hit through for a total of 8 more. So that's 18 wounds in total to the Dominar, who has 20. So he's hanging in there. But either one of those outfolk, or all 3 of them actually, any of them could finish him off. Well, originally the Signifier was going to activate first to get that AoE buff up again, but given the situation with the Dominar, he activated just to try and do stuff before he dies. First attack action was into the wounded outcast, managed to get a hit and a crit through for 7 wounds to him with the 4 already on him. That's 1 extra than was needed to remove him from the table. His next attack action went into the Witherlord, and he's toughness 4 as well, so he's hitting a strength 5, so it was 3 pluses. Only managed to get a normal hit through for 2 wounds, but still, that's 10% of the Witherlord's health gone. Even if the Dominar is now about to die, I don't know. Someone's going to kill him eventually. So the Rotmire Creed activated one of the outcasts that is locked in combat with the Dominar to do, what you would expect. 1 attack was enough. It actually got 2 crits across the 3 attacks, which is a total of 8 wounds. He had 1 left, so didn't bother putting the damage down. Dominar is splatted and off the table. His other action then, now that he was freed up, was to do a movement to lock the Ogre Breacher down a bit more to stop him getting to the Witherlord in case the inevitable happens to that other carrying catcher. The Drillmaster activated for the Iron Golems finished what she started, swinging into the outcast, getting 2 hits through for 4, which is exactly enough that he hits his 10 wound cap and is eviscerated. Her second action was to do a move, and now she's locked in combat with that outcast that just finished going after the Breacher, which I've just realised isn't quite in frame. There we are. That's where she moved, that's what she's locked in combat with. The outcast down here came out of hiding from behind the rock to lock the Signifier in combat, took some swings at him, 3 attacks, strength 3 against toughness 4, and did absolutely nothing. The Ogre Breacher activated, and he might not have gone after who you were expecting. He went after the outcast specifically to free up the Drillmaster to go round in the final round, just in case she needs to block. So he attacked into that poor outcast, got 1 crit and a miss. Crit does 8 wounds of his 10. So he had to use his other second action to attack him as well, unfortunately. He was trying to do it in 1. And if the rolls had been reversed, or if the roll as in R-O-L-L, not R-O-L-E, because his second attack was 2 crits, which was a casual 16 wounds. So he got punted into the sky Team Rocket style, and there's just a glimmer, a shimmer in the air, because he is no longer there. Well, ignore the carrying catcher with Impaler at your peril. He swung into the Ogre Breacher twice, and in total got 2 crits and a hit through for 12 wounds. So on top of the 13 he already had, that is 25. So he has 5 wounds remaining. That was a good swing. Oh, sorry, it's actually more catastrophic over here than I was realising, because their double 5 or double 6 was spent on Blowpipe, and that's, you need a 4+ to do half the damage, or half the value as damage rounding up. and a 4 and a 5 got rolled, so both got through for 6 wounds, which actually means the Breacher did in fact die from those 2 attacks plus the use of the blowpipe, which the carrying catchers can do. They have that mark. So actually he did really well, but the Breacher is dead. Well, the Myrmidon is just chilling over there, killing a guy per turn, as you do. He activated, attacked twice into one of the outcasts. In total, he actually did 16 wounds, didn't bother grabbing the single one. But obviously much more than the 10 he had. Splat, he's gone. Just like that. Genuinely a little amazed at what happened next. Final activation of the round for Rotmire Creed for a start, because they've lost so many dudes. But the final outcast over here, he swung twice into the Ogroid Myrmidon, and across those attacks got 3 crits and 1 hit for a total of 13 wounds. Like, just by himself, just like that, against a toughness 6 model, he managed to actually do well. That's, I mean, he's got 30 in total, so he's still got 27 left. Not 27, 17 I can count. But for one little dude against that monster that's just been squishing people per turn, that's really impressive. And to take us to the end of the penultimate round, there was 2 activations left for the Iron Golems. The Signifier had a disastrous turn, swung twice into the outcast that's kind of holding him there. That's 2 attacks of 3 dice each at strength 4 versus toughness 4. He managed to do nothing. I've never seen so many 1s, 2s and 3s in a row. So, nope, nothing there. That left the Iron Legionary with bolas. He stepped off of the grating to lock the Witherlord in combat, took a swing at him, and managed to do 3 wounds to him, putting him at 5 in total of his 20. And at the end of round 4, here's kind of an overall view of the table. There's not, honestly, we could move in a bit closer, there's not much left. The Rotmire Creed, they've got the Witherlord, they've got 1 carrion catcher, and they have 2 outcasts left. The Iron Golems are doing slightly better, but with the Breacher gone, that's their second heavy hitter really out of there. Vidominar, he always underperforms, I find. He really does need to roll those crits to feel like he's worth it. But either way, they've still got the Drillmaster, the Legionary with bolas, the Signifier, and the big hitter, which is the Ogroid Myrmidon. But if the Witherlord can weather the storm and just end his turn in the next and final round on or within 1 of that well, they still win. So they still absolutely probably have advantage. But let's go to the dice rolls. And it all came down to this. The Rotmire Creed had a double 4, double 3. They turned the double 4 into a triple in case the Witherlord gets to make use of that lethal injection attempt again. So 2 singles. The Iron Golems had a double 6. They've turned that into a triple, and they wanted first activation. So they kept 4 singles, and that's precisely what they're going to get. Let's see what happens. Well, that might well be game immediately at this turn, because the Ogroid Myrmidon activate. He did a disengage action. You get to move 3 inches. You cannot end this move within an inch of another enemy, so he didn't, but he has range 2 on his attack. He also spent the triple 6 they had on, what is it called, Arcane Fury, which is one of his unique things for being a Chaos Beast champion. Until the end of the fighter's activation, add the value of this ability to the damage points allocated by his crits. So his crits went from doing 8 to doing 14, and he managed to get a crit plus a normal hit on the Witherlord for a total of 18. He had 2 wounds on him. He's dead. He got him. And that is probably that. Now, he drops the treasure within an inch. It's there. It is maybe... Oh, I was going to say it's maybe possible for the carrying catcher to pick it up, but I don't think he can get past the Drillmaster without getting locked in combat, because if he moves within an inch of her, that counts, right? We need to double check that, how it works, because if he can get past, he could spend their double on Rush, which might get him there. I can't remember if picking up it's an action or not, but then his other action could be to move there. If it isn't, we'll need to double check that too. And then that would mean he needs to live to the end of the turn, which is possible because there's just the Drillmaster and the Legionnaire. If that isn't possible though, no one else can get to it, and that will give them the win. So we're going to go double check the rules on those various things now and see if there is actually still a game to play. Alright, so here is how it's going to go. The carrying catcher activated spent their double 3 on Rush, giving him a base movement of 5 inches. Now you can move past an enemy, it's just if you begin a movement, or rather if you begin within an inch, you can't do a move, you have to do a disengage. So he could slip by from where he was, 5 inches, and that did not put him within an inch of the treasure. And you have to be within an inch to class as picking it up. So he had to use his second action as a movement action as well. But if he positions himself right there, although it does mean he's ended in combat, he is within an inch technically of the border of this scenery element that has been picked, so it counts. and he was within an inch of the treasure. So he's picked it up, meaning they are going to win unless he dies. And, well, I mean, obviously he can't do anything else. He should have a... That's his turnover. But there's not really... How many wins has he got? He's got 18? No, 12, sorry, 12. Okay, I mean, that is potentially possible. But it's up to the Drillmaster and the Iron Legionary. It comes down to them, because the Signifier is kind of locked in combat. Very interesting. It actually has come down to this. Well, the Drillmaster moved in. Oh, didn't take damage along with her. There she goes. And managed to get a single hit through for 2 wounds. So, that means that the Iron Legionary needs to do 10 wounds to swing this their way. Now, technically, one of the Rotmire Creed survivors would activate now. It doesn't really matter what they're doing. So, we're just going to roll live for the Iron Legionary Bolas attacking twice. So, that is 2 sets of attacks with 2 attacks each. So, 4 in total at Strength 3. He needs crits, basically. Strength 3 versus Toughness 4, so it's 5s and 6s, but he only does 1 base damage. He needs the crits. So, is he going to get them? And not only does he need the crits, he needs 2 crits, 2 hits, or 3 crits. That's what he needs. Very, very unlikely. But hey, we're doing it live. Let's see. Well, that's 3 ones, by the way. One of them is not on camera. He did manage to get a crit, to be fair. That's something. That's 2 wounds, but that means that the Carrion Catcher only has 4 wounds on him. And as per the end of the game then, because we're just going to end turn 4 there, the battle ends after 4 battle rounds. When the battle ends, if an attacking fighter is carrying the treasure, which is the key, they really should call it the key there, because it's called treasure above, just to specify that you use the rules for treasure, and is within 1 of the vault door, i.e. the scenery element selected to be the vault door, the attacker wins. Otherwise the defender wins. Yeah, okay. The Rotmire Creed actually do take it at that last minute's movement from the Carrion Catcher. Well, the Rotmire Creed were not winning the battle, but in the end they won the war. I guess the Carrion Catcher slips into the vault, steals the treasure, and even though most of them are dead, they managed to obtain whatever it is they were after and flee into the night. So that ended up not going the way I thought when I saw how easily the Rotmire Creed were dying, but losing the Ogre Breacher to that fantastic roll is probably what cost him, because imagine the situation where the Breacher is still alive. He could have kept that Carrion Catcher stuck in combat, or just obliterated him, turned him to dust, and then if everything else happened as is, easy win. Just easy win. With the benefit of hindsight, and obviously hindsight, 2020, with the Myrmidon starting on this side of a table, it might have been a better idea to pick something like this to be the vault door, because he was killing someone per turn. He's very difficult to deal with. It's awkward because obviously both sides were deployed in exactly the same way, more or less. The only thing that was swapped was their shields and hammers. So you've got roughly the same number of people at every point of the map, and I'm not sure, would there have been a better choice of vault door? Because the Rotmire Creed had numbers advantage and not that great movement. I don't know, it's hard to say. With hindsight, obviously knowing that they lost, there was probably a better option, but it seemed okay at the time. Clearly it didn't work out, but again, if that Breacher had lived, I think it probably would have swung the other way. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to support what we do here on the channel, please do consider pressing the thanks button or becoming a channel member. You do get early access to certain videos, including this one, which will then go live roughly a week later for everybody else. You could also check out the channel sponsor. They, at time of recording at least, and hopefully by the time you see this, are still running a big spring sale. If you buy anything from them via my affiliate link, I will be compensated, which I would greatly appreciate. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you next time. Ta for now.